Relax. You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, third podcast of the day for me in just a couple hours. I'm not even sure what I'm saying right now, but hey, we're here. It's just after 9 p.m. Where else would you rather be as a Steelers fan? And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how's it going since I can't even get my last name?
You're struggling to speak. If I had a snowball right now, I'd hit you with it.
I think I said scro.
You did. You did.
So, in case those of you that are joining us now, in case you missed it, we had an early Steelers preview because of Thanksgiving. We ran that show live at just after 7 o'clock tonight. So it's there on YouTube. It'll come out on the audio side likely on Thursday anyway. But we just had to get it in when we could because of the holiday. So here I am. It's been a weird day because it was Tomlin Tuesday, but not until 2:30 because the Steelers practiced today because they had the mini bye. So I was doing that podcast later. Then I was running crazy back to get that show. Then had to get my trash out because that Tuesday night's trash night. And then I'm here with my big brother, who I'll be sitting next to you here in a couple days as we spend the Thanksgiving holiday together, which will be nice, I guess. We'll see. Well, it depends on what mood we're each in. So, Rich, you didn't get to do it, though, did you?
No, did not.
Granted, it's been a while because the Steelers played on Thursday, but we have to obviously acknowledge that it happened again. It's happened to a lot of people. And if you were able to catch Jeffrey Benedict in a great guest appearance on the Steelers Q&A, which I'm sorry, I had to run that show way over because I was going to let Jeffrey talk as much as he wanted to.
Yeah, you didn't talk at all.
No, not at all the whole time. No, it was a great discussion. But it was Thursday night in Cleveland. Not only is it not good for the Steelers, it's not good for anybody. It's really not. They've won 9 in a row at home on Thursdays. So the Steelers were up against it. It's not, there's no excuse. It's not like that the Steelers shouldn't have won the game. They had every opportunity to. They did not play well. How do I say it? Can you really say they didn't play well in the first half? Or is it that they didn't finish well in the first half?
I say it was more that they didn't finish. I might just leave it. Just didn't finish.
I mean, if I were to tell you, Rich, the Steelers aren't even going to punt in the first half. They're not even going to punt till there's 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, you figure they're winning big.
You figure they're either scoring boatloads of points or they're turning the ball over like crazy, and they didn't do either. I mean, they had 3 points in the first half. That it just goes to show the title of what's going on. The title of the show tonight is Walking the Narrow Line with the 2024 Steelers. And that is, there's oftentimes a very narrow line between being able to pull off a victory or falling in defeat. And sometimes it takes multiple things to get you just on the other side of that line. And sometimes it takes not as much, and you're on the right side of that line. But if you're going to be playing a lot of one-score games, which the Steelers have played a decent bit of one-score games this year, especially all their losses, you're going to be walking that line. And this one, they didn't come out on the right side, and there's plenty to talk about with it. But before we do that, let's go ahead and tackle some news. You all right with that?
Sure. Tackle it.
Well, because Coach Tomlin spoke today. Looks like, he said, how did he say it? I got it here in front of me, so I'm going to say that Alex Highsmith will lean in on a return. That meaning they're gonna look to see if he comes back. We'll see if that happens. You also mentioned, Corey Trice is in the mix. Now he even threw out Montravius Adams as a possibility of opening his window. Coach Tom didn't say open the window. He said, be available. But I have a feeling if they open his window, they likely aren't going to bring him back right away. I don't know. But honestly, if you look at it, the Pittsburgh Steelers since the bye week have been healthy. I mean, guys they lost on IR for the season are obviously still on IR for the season. And other than Alex Highsmith getting injured, who should be back hopefully sooner than later, if not this week, then hopefully the next, they're actually pretty good sitting there with a health standpoint, but we know it's just going to be a matter of time until something else is going to pop up.
You just don't know week to week. When you walk in, you're healthy, and 6 guys get hurt. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So
and
you just appreciate
5 of them will play the same position.
Just appreciate being healthy right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's why there's not a lot of news on that front. And we talked about it on the Steelers preview. I'm like, man, with someone like Corey Trice, you got to find him a spot on the 53. Then you got to find him a helmet. And with guys being healthy, that's hard to do right now, especially based on special team roles and everything. But other than that, Steelers are getting ready to roll into Cincinnati on Sunday. There wasn't really much news. There was an addition to the practice squad. I'm not going to say his name right. I think it's Julius Welshoff, maybe is the right way to say it. He was an undrafted rookie free agent with the Steelers in training camp. He was doing all right. He got hurt. Steelers added him back. As I said on the preview, they already have an IPP player, an international pathway program. They already have one, so he would have qualified for that, but they already have one. So they have him back just as a regular. Now, if something happens with the other player, then he could be that spot. So that's just something to look at there. But they brought him back. Eric, did I get the right first name? Eric Rowe?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember his name on the preview either. He was added back to the practice squad more recently. That was last week, but I think since our show. Just shoring up to make sure that they have depth, even if it's on the practice squad at certain positions. That's really about it. Now, there's something that could be news this week I'm going to ask you about. Is George Pickens going to play this week?
I don't know.
You think the NFL turns around? I would have thought they would have had to have done it today if they were going to suspend him for what happened in that game. I thought it would have come today.
Yeah, I would have too. But you never know with the NFL.
Yes. Because if they did, usually then the player would have time to appeal before the game actually happens. So hopefully that means it's not. What did you think of that there at the end of the game with the little altercation, the little brouhaha?
Oh, I paid no attention to it.
Yeah. And then
I was too busy going to bed. Actually, no, I was finishing up the knee-jerk reaction article, so you could finish it.
Yeah. It was just, at that point, it was like, yeah. I mean, were you really holding out hope for the Hail Mary?
No.
Me neither.
I was not. If you wanted to actually make a drive there at the end, you needed to do a better job with your timeouts, and you needed to let the Browns go ahead, since they were pushing the ball inside the 1-yard line, just let them score.
See, I completely disagree with both of those. I'm very adamant about the not letting them score thing. There was people that felt that as soon as they got to the 9-yard line and they got it to the 2,
not at the 9-yard line, but when they are pushing the pile and that pile goes inside the 1 from the 9, you're not stopping. You're not. You're. You know, it's a fine line to walk there. I was a little more upset with the timeout situation.
Well, see, to me, I was upset about the timeout situation, but I'm not blaming the Steelers. I'm mad that the referees were messing up that situation so bad that the Steelers weren't given the proper information as to what was actually going on, what the down and distance was. They were being told one thing from one side, Judge, while the Browns were being told something else from the other. And there was so much confusion, and the Steelers weren't ready. If they weren't ready, that's a big play. So I get having to waste the timeout, but then they ended up giving it up anyway. So
that ranks right up there with the one. Which game was it the other day I was watching where the official steps in, won't let the offense snap the ball, and the official steps out of the way with 1 second on the play clock?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, if that's the case, that should be on the offense. If the offense substitutes that late, because the official's supposed to step in and count down. I don't know how much time he has to give the other team. I think it's generally 5 seconds. So if you're stepping in to be in the way, that means the offense substituted really late. 1 or 2, they're royally screwing up. Just think a couple weeks ago.
They were royally screwing up because they sat there for probably 10, 12 seconds.
You can't do that because the defense either has to substitute then, or you've got to reset the play clock because you messed up and didn't let the defense or the offense know in the right amount of time. So, and then remember, a few weeks ago,
I get a ton of stuff on this of just constantly asking, and I know it's never happening, but when, NFL, when are we going to go to full-time officials?
But the thing is, how is that going to make it better?
Because then they're not running back to other jobs during the week. You can actually make them watch more film and train.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it because then their time is that they should be looking at tendencies and everything of what they should be looking for in the upcoming games? But then my problem is, are you going into a game with preconceived notion? Oh, this player likes to hold a lot. And then you have more of a tendency to call a hold or things of that nature. So there is a trade-off. I'm not saying that it's not a good idea. I'm just saying I'm still not sure that even that would fix it. I think they need to be utilizing more people and more technology. And I've addressed this several times. I thought BF.
Actually, I'll address this one from what I saw in the game. Honestly, there wasn't a penalty.
What, the illegal touching?
Yeah, Cam Hayward hit the ball first.
Oh, did he touch it?
Yes.
I never saw that.
Yeah.
Which would have made it 4th and 2 and there wouldn't have been a penalty to try to do. I never saw Cam Hayward touch the ball. I will tell you this. It definitely shouldn't have been intentional grounding because, and I didn't realize at the time, but found out later, there was an offensive lineman that reported as eligible that you would think, oh, there's no receiver there. No, one of those linemen was eligible. But the one that touched it was the center, and he was not eligible. But I wouldn't be shocked at that. Also, that's 1. 2, you can't say that that's intentional grounding is actually, we talked about this on the Q&A. It's about intent. And that's what makes it so tricky. You have to judge the quarterback's intent. Is he just trying to ditch the ball and get rid of it so he doesn't take the sack? I honestly believe that a case could be made that Jameis Winston was trying to throw that ball over the middle, and Patrick Queen's hit did not allow it to go where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah. So there wasn't, but either way, the thing that supersedes it is, and that was that came out with Stefanski after the game that the officials explained that said that no, there was that first they were going to call intentional grounding until they realized that the eligible receiver was there. And that was part of the problem that was never explained to the Steelers. That was taken care of on the Browns sideline, not explained to the Steelers. All this various stuff. Apparently, the initial word coming over to them is it was intentional grounding because that's what they were going to call until they realized and got together that it wasn't. And all this various stuff. And that doesn't work if you don't let both teams know. And then one team ends up burning a timeout because the other one says, we know, they don't, let's hurry. Which I don't blame them for doing either. What they should have done in that moment when they saw the Browns were hurrying, the Steelers, they should have blown the whistle, waved their hands, had a conference, even if just saying, hey, guys, we kind of messed this up. We didn't let them do the right thing. We're just going to make sure we have everything right. And then I'm going to step out and announce it is 3rd down and 7 at the whatever yard line with a clock operator. Change the clock by a second if you need to change space. No one's going to complain about that at that point of the game. But the officials shouldn't have made the Steelers have to burn that timeout. Now the first timeout they used in the half, I can't remember what that was, but I remember didn't like it. But those are those thin line things, though, to me, because the thin line is: do you let them when they go from the 9 to the 2? Do you let them score there? Because honestly, if the Steelers had 2 timeouts, they're taking one of them there. They still would have just had 1 timeout at the end.
Yes.
They would have saved that time there.
Yes, correct. Like, that could have all played out very differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to, I'll get to the part of the game I didn't like the most.
Mm-hmm.
The part I didn't like was after the Dante Jackson interception and the offensive play calling.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I didn't have that big of a problem with the first 2 plays.
I did a little bit.
I mean, they were 3-yard run. Honestly, if you knew you were going to throw on 3rd down, why not throw on 2nd down?
Well, here was some of my things with it as well. All right. The Steelers had just come off back-to-back possessions, scoring touchdowns to take the lead. Miraculously. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me how that ever happened, but it did. Okay? How did that happen? There were a lot of Russell Wilson passes.
Yeah.
It was the 4th quarter. Russ was starting to cook.
Yeah.
Why didn't we ride with what was hot and got us to that point?
Yes. I agree. Now,
you know what I saw?
What?
We lived in our fears, and it came back to bite us.
Well, to me, you say that, but that first drive that the Steelers finally broke through and scored a touchdown, that drive was really Justin Fields. Russ had some nice passes too, but Justin Fields had the 30-yard run. And it's so funny because I heard on Breakfast with Ben's on Monday with the Madden Monday podcast where they're saying, oh, well, what good's the Fields package if you don't use it in the red zone? They literally did. And in the last 2 games, the only touchdown they have scored from the red zone was the Justin Fields package. It was a zone read play to Jalen Warren. That's their only red zone touchdown in 2 games. So I liked where they used it there. But you're right. If you're going to throw the ball on 3rd and 4, I mean, were they bringing Fields in specifically thinking that would make the defense come up even more? I could see it. But then you're asking a guy who had only thrown 1 pass in the game that didn't even count because it was a roughing the passer and looked really bad when he did throw it. And that was before he was roughed. That's not what I would have done.
Yeah. Just some questionable decisions. Mm-hmm. That again, look, I will say this: kudos to the coach staff because they made decisions. At least they made the decisions.
Yep.
Okay. And decisions are great when they work.
Yeah.
They're not when they don't work. They're not so great.
Yeah. Like, here, what's your opinion of the 58-yard field goal?
Oh, I was not a fan.
You want to know why?
Because the weather was terrible.
Yeah. Honestly, the bigger reason that was a problem was it was rushed. There was no time. That was one of those circumstances I think Mike Tomlin was upset that they, redid something and didn't give him time and blah, 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 blah. But the biggest problem with that field goal was it was rushed. The clock was winding down and they were rushing to get it up there in bad weather, those things together. And I can see the reasoning behind, hey, we didn't want that sack to turn momentum that it took points off the board. Well, it did. It took points off the board and screwed field position. But the Steelers defense stepped up and forced a 3 and out. So
Yes.
really, if they would have punted or not, that did not hurt them. That did not hurt them. And honestly, if that would have been later in the game, as the snow picked up, it would have been even worse. But at that point, that was different. Hey, I want to bring up something that I want to say this. NSMC 99 says playing Cincy on the road is going to be a tough one. Nope. And Cincy's coming off a bye. Nope. And that's the thing, because I just went over these numbers. If you want to feel better about this game real quick, I went over the numbers because I tackled some of them today. The Cincinnati Bengals over the last 10 seasons, coming off the bye, 4-6, 1-2 at home. Outscored 50-something to 116 in those 3 games that they've played at home coming off the bye. So they're not some big coming off the bye team that you would typically get. And if you look at the Steelers in the Mike Tomlin era, this was my trivia question on the preview earlier, if you missed it, of each team in the division during the regular season, at home versus on the road, where's the best, where's the worst? Well, the Steelers have the best record against Cleveland at home because in the regular season, they never lost to them. They haven't lost to them since 2003, so in the Tomlin era. But the second best is in Cincinnati. The Steelers actually have a slightly better record in Cincinnati under Mike Tomlin than they do at home. So that's and SMC 99 says, I didn't know they were bad coming off a bye. Mind blown. Yeah, that's the thing. I had to look it up. I didn't know either. You just assume teams are good coming off a bye because the Steelers are. But that's actually not the case with everybody. So let's get back to this game because there's plenty of stuff to talk about. I did a whole article on questionable decisions. It was 6 that were questionable and 3 that weren't. My 3 that weren't was letting them score, the using the second timeout because I said that wasn't their fault, and I can't even remember what the other one was. People want to claim that the Steelers mismanaged the clock at the end of the first half. They actually played it right. Not only do I say they didn't mess it up, they actually did it better than they have in a long time.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues at the end of the first half. Some folks, I know there were people out there saying, "Oh, they ended up not using that timeout, not using it
because they didn't get the first down."
Correct.
Yeah. They needed 2 first downs. They got 1 on the first play, and they had their timeout for when they got the second one, and they never got it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saving it for a certain circumstance, and when the that's why it's there. When the circumstance never presents itself, then you don't take it.
Yeah. Yes. And how many times have I said I'm so tired of the Steelers calling timeouts with too much time left in the first half, and then they either score or have to punt and actually give the other team time.
Yeah.
The amount, if they'd have called timeout whenever the Browns rushed to the line like they were going to go for it on 4th down, if they'd have called timeout right then, the Steelers would have got the ball back basically with the same amount of time that they got the ball back against Baltimore when they went 3 plays and had to punt. Now in Baltimore, on the very next play, they got the fumble and then got a field goal. But with that same amount of time, the Steelers ended up putting the ball back to the opposition with enough time for them to do something. So that's why I'm like, outside of 45 seconds, I'm not big on having on calling a timeout. Because, at the end of the first half, because it's also, you don't want to give the other team time as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But there was a lot of things from this game that was just crazy. I mean, the Steelers won so many of the statistical matchups, yet they lost on the scoreboard. They won the turnover battle. They won the penalties. I know Steelers fans complain about penalties, but the Steelers have won the penalties most games. And for the season, they're way up in penalties, in their favor versus against them. They won the yardage. They won the passing yards. They won the rushing yards. They won the time of possession by 10 minutes. But they won third down conversions.
I don't count that as a win, though.
Huh?
That's not a win. Third down conversions were not a win. Not
Because of
the fourth down conversions.
They won the third down conversions, but they got crushed in the fourth down conversions. And that was the difference in the game.
Yes.
The 4 for 4 for the Browns and 1 for 3 for the Steelers. That was the biggest difference. Yep.
Very much so the biggest difference. And which is why I always say every time when I'm looking through the stats at the end of the game, I'm looking at the third down stats, I always include the fourth down.
Yes.
Because if you stop them on a third down to force the fourth down and you give up the fourth down, it was the same as giving up the third down.
And I've said about this in the past, I've been really frustrated when the Steelers, when the other team, let's say the other team has the ball right around midfield and it's 3rd and 12. And the Steelers are comfortable giving up 10 yards. I hate that. If it was 2nd and 12, you wouldn't be comfortable with giving up 10 yards.
Right.
On 3rd and 12, you shouldn't be just defending the sticks at that point of the field, because guess what? Then you have a 4th and 2. And too many times that's gone the wrong way.
Yep.
So I don't like that mentality of defend the sticks, depending on the point of the field. Now, you can get crazy like the Ravens did and went for it on 4th down at your own whatever, which is kind of what the Steelers did with their fake punt that didn't come through. But that's been a while. So there was just a lot of things. If you talk about the narrow line, there are so many of those various things that could have made a huge difference in this game. My goodness, even the 58-yard field goal, if that goes through. My goodness, if they have 5 more seconds of the play clock, maybe he makes it. So, but you can't go back and change it. All you can do now is get those things in your favor going forward. So, do you have anything else you want to say about this game, or do you want to take a break and move forward?
Honestly, I'm still... Warren and I have sat around the house here, and even yesterday we're talking how we were still mad about this game. So honestly, I'd like to just, let it go.
Yeah, it's been. Normally we're on a Tuesday coming off of a Sunday, and it's still really fresh. This one, I've been ready to let it go for a while. I really am. And let's go ahead and take our break. We're going to come back and we're going to kind of talk about the direction and everything of the Steelers moving forward, and then specifically get into this matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals. So if you're with us here on any of the live platforms, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us here on the audio, stick around. We'll be right back after this break.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax.
All right, Rich, you ready to relax and not worry?
I don't know about the relax part, so...
Come on, give me your impression and
worry.
give me the line of what the Steelers need to be right now.
What?
Come on, give me your best impression. You got to give me the line.
RELAX? I don't know what it...
We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. Sorry. You don't remember that? Do you not remember that?
No.
Really?
I don't remember that.
That was the famous Bill Belichick press conference after a loss, and that's what he answered for about every question.
Oh, you were trying to be Bill Belichick there. With your impression, you sounded more like Charles Barkley.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Yeah, so it's on to Cincinnati, but that really would have gone a long way for the Steelers. But you know what? So would any of their wins. Any of their losses, had they been wins, is what I meant to say there. But remember, I brought this up during the bye week. Man, if you can go two out of 3 in the next 3 games before the mini bye, you're still going to be sitting in a really good spot. But man, it's frustrating when you get the first 2, against
hard
winning
ones.
teams,
Yes.
and then drop the third one against a losing team.
Yes.
That makes it harder to swallow. But honestly, if you had to say, hey, you can only win one game, the Ravens or the Browns, which would you take it?
The Ravens.
Absolutely. You know what? Oh, no, but
Because the Browns aren't catching anybody.
no. And technically, that's a trick question because the real answer should be all of them. We're taking them all down. But yeah, that was option C that you weren't given. Yeah.
Actually, technically, you should say the Browns because they're both the Browns.
Yeah, they're both the Browns. Yeah. So you still got to look at it in perspective. I mentioned this with a preview because it was something that Jeff Hartman had said in Let's Ride, where he had, ran into some various Steelers fans, saw him in Steelers gear talking to him about the team. And you know what? They basically said our theme music is what they're saying to Jeff. Relax. It's one game. It'll be better. I don't see those fans a lot. I think those kind of fans aren't the ones that are necessarily boisterous about their opinions a lot of times. But are you ready to relax and think that the Steelers are going to get going back in the right direction?
Put it this way. I'm going to put it to Warren said this the very next day after the Steelers lost.
Mm-hmm.
He says,
that's our nephew, in case anyone don't know.
Yes, our nephew. He says that loss isn't that bad if the Steelers win against Cincinnati next week.
Yeah.
And he's right. We'll forget about that loss if the Steelers beat Cincinnati.
Yes, I agree.
And then turn around and beat the Browns the next week when Kyle and I are in the stadium.
Yeah, that would be really nice too. Especially, if you ruin that streak of how many times in the regular season the Steelers have beat the Browns in Pittsburgh, Kyle's never going to hear the end of it.
It'll be Kyle not hearing the end of it because I've been a part of that streak.
Yeah, same here. I have too. It's been a while.
Oh, no. See, I've been recently. I was Browns at home last year, Browns at home the year before, Browns at home the year before. I've done 3.
I think mine, and all mine were the last week of the season. 2013, 2016, and 2017, I believe, were the ones. Because 2013 was the one that they had to win, and all these crazy things had to happen, and they did. And then one thing had to happen in the late window, and the Chiefs screwed them against the Chargers, and they didn't make the play. That was when they started 0-4. And really, if they'd have made it in, people would have been like, "Oh man, that's not good." That they turned around and finished 8-4 to finish out the season. So, yeah. It's really where they go from now. My final thoughts. I keep talking about the preview because honestly, it happened like an hour and a half ago. My final thoughts were: this is. I don't like to say must-win games. I don't like to use that category unless it's a must-win. Because honestly, there was someone that disagreed in the live chat and said, "Oh, it's a must-win if you're thinking about having a home game and for seeding." You're talking seeding. Okay, my thing is must-win games are if you don't win, you're done. That's me, full-out must-win games. Yep. I wouldn't call it a must-win. I call this a pivotal game. See if you agree with this, because this is a pivotal game of how the Steelers are going to do going down the stretch after big emotional win against the Ravens, let down on the short week in Cleveland. How do you respond to that? Will the real Pittsburgh Steelers please stand up and let us see who you are? I think this is a who you are game. You going to show us who you are as you're going to go out there and take care of business, or you going to show us who you are as, what? Maybe that's more what we saw in Cleveland is more what we should expect from the Steelers.
But they are who we thought they were.
Exactly. They are who we thought that. We don't know which version to think they are, though, right?
Right.
That's the thing. We are who they thought they were, but which one? Okay. So this is big. We had questions on the Q&A. A lot of stuff was talked about Russell Wilson Should the Steelers extend him? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? We're not even halfway through the sample size of what we could get from Russ. He's 5 games in, there's 6 games left. What happens in those next 6 games is going to be pretty big. And honestly, I think this is one of them. Maybe not the biggest. We'll see how some of these other big key matchups play out and how things are going at the time. But this is a big one right now, because how does Russ respond after a loss? Especially a loss where people might not like this, when he was the best offensive player on the field and they lost.
Yeah.
Russ was. I mean, you could. I mean, for the Steelers, he had the best game for the Steelers offense. He did. That's why it was interesting about that. Yeah, some people are saying, "Wait, didn't the Browns beat?" I've said it several times. Regular season. Okay. What do you think? What do you expect? Just you don't have to get into like game prediction or anything yet. What are your expectations going into Sunday with how the Steelers will respond?
I expect there to be a football game in Cincinnati this weekend. Mm-hmm. There you go.
I was going to say, are you going to give me a real answer, or are you just going to give the smart aleck older brother answer?
The smart aleck older brother answer. Because I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
Yeah. No, I was
so you asked
for
me. No.
For your personal expectations.
I don't have any.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
You're going in like, man, I don't know what to think about this one. Is that how you're feeling?
Yes. It's like
you just put yourself in my shoes Thursday. That's how I felt Thursday. Even after the big win with the Ravens. And I'm like, I did pick the Steelers on the preview because I tried to convince myself, hey, they came out healthy against the Ravens. That's going to make a difference. When everything inside of me said they're going into Cleveland on a short week. Short weeks are bad. Road short weeks are really, really bad. Road short weeks in Cleveland are the only team since they have reinstated Thursday Night Football in 2006. The only team with a better home record on Thursday night than the Cleveland Browns at 9-1 is the Baltimore Ravens at 9-0. It goes Baltimore Ravens 9-0, Cleveland Browns 9-1, Pittsburgh Steelers 9-2.
Yeah,
you don't want to play AFC North football on the road on a Thursday. You don't want to do it.
When you look at those statistics, it just is like, come on, NFL.
Yeah.
Come on. You can, honestly, they can basically manipulate wins and losses.
They can, manufacture wins and losses. And remember, last year, the Browns... were the golden child of the NFL. They had to have the defensive player of the year, even though we had, one sack over the last 6 games, or maybe 8 games. I can't remember. Something crazy. They had to have the comeback player of the year, despite somebody dying on the field and coming back and playing in the next season. Doesn't matter. As long as he plays 1 snap, that's a comeback. Alex Smith had the same thing. And instead they gave it to a guy that just sucked so bad at the end of the year that no one wanted him to start the season. And then a team picks him up and he does good. Okay. And then they had the coach of the year as well. They're the NFL's golden child. They set that up. It's like they set it up for them. And they've royally screwed the Steelers because not only did the Steelers have to play 2 games on a short week at the second half of the season, both of them are after playing the Ravens, which is not generally a good thing for the Steelers. And they put all their division games backloaded. So, yeah, you're right. The NFL can manipulate these kind of things, and they basically set it up for Cleveland to win that game, and yet the Steelers still came back in and coulda, woulda, shoulda won. I still can't get over how what's his name in Houston wasn't coach of the year last year, but oh well.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So, yeah. There, I'm off my soapbox, but that's how I felt last Thursday. So much so, I know I said it in a couple other podcasts. I'll admit it to you. I actually bet on the Browns on the money line because it was the smart play.
Okay. Well,
And if I would have lost the bet, I would have loved it.
when it comes to betting, loyalty shouldn't lie anywhere. It should always be on the smart money.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that really was set up. But here's what's crazy, though. You want to know another crazy thing I found digging up stuff for some articles? The Steelers have they're now 1-3 coming off of a short week if they play the Ravens before the short week. The only win they had was in 2018 against the Panthers. But every time they've played the Ravens before a short week, they've won against the Ravens. They just lose the next week, 3 out of 4. So, but this one, I get it. So, where are you struggling with your trust of the Steelers? Is it more offense, defense, or is it just kind of as a whole?
It's more kind of as a whole because I just don't know what's going to show up week to week.
Yeah.
Do we get the Joey Porter Jr. that basically shuts out Zay Flowers? Or do we get the Joey Porter Jr. that made Jerry Jeudy look like Jerry Rice?
Well,
it's...
Yeah. Well, honestly, he was actually matched up more on Bateman, who completely was shut out. Whoever Porter was on in that Ravens game, he didn't give up a catch the whole game, regardless of which guy he was on. So, and that was actually more of a matchup thing because of the way the two of them play. But here's the thing: Jerry Jeudy still didn't have anywhere close to the game that he had the week before. But that's still not good enough. I don't care what he did the week before.
It was when JPJ was guarding him and they threw the ball at him, he was perfect.
Yeah,
on catches.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, Joey Porter Jr. did not look particularly comfortable playing in the snow.
Yes, that's true. Well, it's harder to react on defense when you're playing in the snow. From someone who played in the snow, because where we grew up, my goodness, you had what, a foot of snow last Friday?
Had a foot of snow last Friday.
Yeah, that's just what it was. And our old high school, they're still playing football now. They weren't at home; they're on the road. They've made it farther than they've ever made it in the state playoffs.
It was lucky it was on the road and they played in a cold, muddy rain
because they won
and blew out.
And
everybody's probably wondering why in the world they thought that was so great. Because if that game would have been played here. Actually, it probably wouldn't have been. There's no way they could have played the game.
In a foot of snow?
Well, not just that. You couldn't. The other team would have never made it.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they just travel-wise couldn't get there.
Yeah,
but because but no, and what's funny is that game was actually played not that far from where I live, and I'm like, it's cold and it's pouring. I'll follow it online. I'm not going. I'm like, after having great weather in Baltimore, I'm not going to a high school game. It's miserable. So yeah. But I know reacting in the snow it's so much easier when you know where you're going and the other person has to react to you when you're going on a slick or wet field. But that's defense in the NFL. That's defense in the NFL. It's so much easier even when it's a perfect field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what are we going to get there? I mean, honestly, Dave, I'll even say this: like, I'm not even sure for the Steelers what I get week to week on the play call.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Arthur Smith did not have a good game. He didn't.
So I don't know if you've ever watched some of the fun NFL shorts by Annie Agar. She does every week. She does an NFL meeting and oh my gosh,
she all of them, but I
she is freaking hilarious.
I didn't see the one for week 12. I did see the
this
one
week
for week 11.
She talks about the Steelers and she says So this marked the 1-year anniversary of the Steelers firing Matt Canada, and they decided to bring back his playbook.
Yeah.
So, because here's one thing, because this is one stood out to me.
And like
Jordan,
Gavin says, no one's off limits. She just roasts everybody.
Oh, I know. I love it.
That's what's so good.
Okay. Dave,
Yeah.
did you know the Steelers ran the same run play with the same exact motion 4 times in the game?
They've been running it at least 4 times every game.
The first time,
Comes across and then comes, just
no, where Cordell Patterson is in the game and they run
sometimes
him
it's
back
sporadic.
behind. Yeah. Okay. The first time it gained 9 yards.
Yeah.
The other 3, I think, combined for 1. It's like, I get that it worked one time, but if you try it a second time and it doesn't, then it's time to go to something else.
I don't know. You know what? As a former offensive coordinator, even though it was at the freshman football level of high school, if you have a play that's your staple play, it's not about running it all the time, and it's not about stopping running it. It's about figuring out the best spot where to run it.
I tell you, that's not the Steelers' staple play.
I don't think it is either, but still. Yeah.
And this ain't freshman high school football.
Yeah. You're right.
So,
See, because John S. wants to know, he's like, is the second play of the game always the bootleg to Washington? I think that they were the bootleg on the first play of this game. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
You know what I like about the bootleg? Jeffrey and I were talking about this. The bad thing about the bootleg is it takes away the back third of the field most often. The good thing about the bootleg is it gets short Russell Wilson out of the pocket to where he can see the middle of the field. Think about it. If he's just in the pocket, he's only got 2/3 of the field anyway because he doesn't have the middle third because he can't see it. So even if they're like, how many times you hear commentators, I don't like it when they roll them out, that takes away half the field. Well, that take away half, but it probably takes away a third. We'll just say a third, especially depending on how far you roll out. Okay? So the question is, when you bootleg with Russell Wilson, you're basically giving up a third of the field that's to the sideline, but you're gaining a third of the field that's in the middle of the field. So I can get that. I think I kind of roasted Jeff a little bit on this on the Q&A about because he was, knee-jerk reactions after the game. He's like, I don't want to hear about it being on Thursday night that the Steelers weren't prepared. I gave the analogy of that's like saying, I don't want to hear about your turkey not being very good on Thanksgiving. I don't care that I only gave you an hour to cook it. They're just things you can't separate. You can't talk about they weren't prepared and say the amount of time that they had to prepare had nothing to do with it. I mean, it does. I think the Steelers are a meticulous team in preparation because they generally do so well when they have more time to prepare. My goodness, in the last 10 years, as good as the Steelers' record is coming out of the bye, it's even better coming out of the mini bye. And if you take away the last 2 years, it's perfect because the last 2 years is where they struggled. They've only won 1 out of 3 the last 2 years coming out of the mini bye. So, yeah, okay. And outside Steelers, it says honestly, or the team honestly was not prepared. Yeah, I'm not saying that they were greatly prepared. They're not. And the thing is, you can't be on a short week. You just got to do what you can do. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a bad thing. I'm just saying to say that it being a Thursday night game had zero to do with it is just crazy. And I think, when people calm down, they can see it rationally. But it's funny. And here's Tim Pratt. Here's Tim. That's for Tim.
That was for Tim and Tim's mom. Inside joke.
Both teams have the same amount of time to prepare. Guess what? No, they don't.
Correct. Not exactly.
They don't.
Not on the short week.
NFL rules state the visiting team has to be in the city where the game is played at least the night before. The travel day changes that.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's so much of an advantage for home teams on Thursday night? It's a short week and they don't have to travel. They don't have to worry about that travel.
They basically get an extra day.
Yes. Yes. So, okay.
So it's
So
one of those, Dave, where I say
Yeah.
to this, I will say this towards that. Okay. Either then there's something the Steelers have to do better, or there's something the NFL has to do better. Okay, because from what I saw on Thursday night, the difference in preparedness by one day was huge.
Yeah. And Cleveland, they just have it. To me, this shows how much your coaching isn't an issue. If you can turn around and play better on short rest than otherwise, because maybe some of your problem is your coaches are actually getting in your way.
Maybe.
If you're more prepared. Because people talk about all the talent that Cleveland has, but yet they can't put it together. Well, maybe sometimes you just got to go out there and play football.
Can I vote?
Yeah.
All right, when I'm commissioner of the NFL, the first thing I'm doing is getting rid of Thursday night football games. I hate them.
Oh,
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
The first thing I do as commissioner, and you know this, and I've said it on about every podcast that I've been on since this game, and that is, I'm not getting rid of. I love Thursday night football.
I hate it. I
and
hate
unless
it.
the Steelers are playing, I love having that bridge between Monday and Sunday. I do. I just hate it when it's my team.
No,
And
I hate
so-
it every week. I hate it every week. It throws off my work with my fantasy teams. It just throws off everything.
And this,
I hate it.
And this one's fabulous because not
There's only one Thursday, where there should be football. Should be Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving football. And that's what the NFL did. They ruined Thanksgiving football because there's football every Thursday.
But it's not all day every Thursday. That's what I love about Thanksgiving. It's from 12:30 to 11. It's
And Dave, some of us typically work on Thursdays.
not on Thanksgiving. I'm just saying it.
No, but what I'm saying, you're saying, Thanksgiving, you get it all day. Well, you can put it all day on all those other ones, but they wouldn't make money at it because everybody's at work.
Oh, exactly. No, they're not doing it all day on a Thursday outside of. I'm saying my point was that's what makes Thanksgiving different and special because it's all day. So
Right.
I mean,
And to me, there's nothing special about the other Thursday nights. There's Monday night football to me is still special.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't think Sunday night football is all that special. But Thursday night football, not special. And if you, honestly, I bet if you asked the players in the NFL there was something they could do, they would get rid of Thursday night football.
oh, I'm sure they should because it's not as good of a product and it's not good for safety. But this is what I would do. First of all, let's do this. Let's go ahead and go to 18 games because to try to fix any other problem without going to 18 games is going to be a moot point because the NFL is going to try to get there as soon as they can, although they're not allowed to in this CBA unless the NFLPA agrees to it. So that means they have to give something up. So let's go ahead and move it to 18 games. So let's go 18 game schedule. Let's start on Labor Day weekend. Screw you, college football. If you want to be special, go the weekend before. Start on Labor Day. 20-week season. Super Bowl's on President's Day weekend. You've got 20 weeks. Teams get one bye and one off week. Not you can. I mean, you could say, "Oh, isn't that the same thing as a bye?" No, because your off week is you do not play the week before you play on Thursday Night Football. So you play Sunday or Monday the week before. You don't play the next Sunday. You play Thursday, and then you have that weekend off and go back to play the next weekend.
Well, when I'm commissioner, I'm just getting rid
That's
of
what I-
Thursday altogether.
Okay, that's what I would do. Like Kathy says, 2 buys. I'm like, whether you call it 2 buys but one of them is going to be before you play Thursday football and go back to making everybody have to play a Thursday game. So that way nobody plays a game on 4 days rest. You just don't do it. Now, you obviously don't have to worry about it the first week of the season because that opens on Thursday. You don't have to worry about that. Those teams can play another one later. That's a whole different story. But you're never having anyone play on 4 days rest because you're going to have that Sunday off anyway. That's what I want. So, and that's better for player safety. That's better for the product you get on Thursday Night Football. And that gives you 20 weeks worth of selling commercials versus 18 of them right now. So you add another game, but by adding another week, that's a whole nother, that's just a whole new monster. There you go. Yeah.
And there you go.
Huh? But I
And
honestly,
there you go.
I like my idea best. And your idea is better than what we have now.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work for me.
Yes. So okay, we've beat that to a pulp. It's really about what the Steelers go forward. I talked about this is a pivotal game. Let's get into our scores because my goodness, since I already gave it on the preview, I get to give my score this week as well. So don't give yours yet in the live chat. We will bring them all up once we do, but Rich will give his, I'll give mine, and then we'll bring all yours up. Don't jump the gun until I say it and actually type it out there for you. Rich, who do you got? It seems, even though it's still Tuesday to Sunday like it normally is, because it's Thanksgiving in between and because it's been since last Thursday, it feels like it'll be forever until this game, especially knowing it's in December. It's time for December football. What do you have coming up on Sunday for the Steelers?
I'm back to not having complete confidence in the Steelers.
Okay.
This will be. I have a feeling this turns into what we all thought the Ravens game might be.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually am going to say the Steelers don't win the slugfest of points. I'm going to go Cleveland. Cincinnati 33. Pittsburgh 29.
Gotcha. So you think the Steelers defense will give up 33 points? So that's right. What's funny is Bad had 33-30 Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, so you're calling for the push on the spread because the spread was +3. So then he changed it because he didn't want it to where the other way he got to the point was if it was a push. So I'm saying, you know what I have faith in? I have faith in the mini buy. I have faith in the mini buy and the Steelers going into a place that they play pretty darn well. I think it lines up. When I looked at the schedule when it came out in May, I'm like, man, it really stinks that game against Cleveland. Oh, the game against Kansas City on Christmas Day on a short week. Now, Kansas City is going to be at even more disadvantage for that one because they have to travel. Yes, it's a short week. That one's all going to come down to how banged up the Steelers are after playing the Ravens again. So that's something to come out later. But I look at all these things and I'm like, but you know who really got screwed when it came to playing the Steelers was the Bengals. Yes, the Bengals have a bye, but the Steelers also have a mini bye when they play the first game. And when they play the Bengals at the end of the season, the Steelers are coming off another mini bye. So to me, I'm going to put my faith in the mini bye. I'm going to go back and say the Steelers get back on track. I'm taking them on the money line this week. And I actually have the Steelers winning 30-25.
Dave?
Yeah.
You have faith in the mini buy. Just not sure I'm there. If you would have said you had faith in the mini bar, maybe.
Well, you know what? If I don't have faith, and I'm not someone who drinks, but if I don't have faith in the mini buy, if the mini buy doesn't work, the mini bar might come in.
This might have to be the consolation prize.
That might have to be what it is there. So here we go. Let's get these scores. Kathy Ford says 24-17 Steelers. George T says Steelers 42-31. That's a really big scoring one. If you don't put a team, we're assuming you mean Steelers, just reminding everyone. Thank you, Thomas. Keep that train rolling because it doesn't count. The Thursday games are an anomaly. That it didn't work last time doesn't count. He says Steelers 24, Bengals 24. That's a way to be there, Thomas. Afton Ford says 27-21 Steelers. TD, Tom Dessenberger, says 27-24 Steelers. Steelers Chicks 46 says Pittsburgh 28, Cincinnati 24. Brian Brown sees this much like the Ravens game that it's going to go the opposite of what you expect. And he has 12-11 Steelers. Outside Steeler fan says, good guys, 31-27 in a shootout. Okay. BF Bud has 34-24, Cincy, hoping that he's wrong. Christopher 11 says Steelers 34-31. New Orleans or bust. Okay. The question is, the Steelers beat the Bengals this week. Well, now what's the narrative of the Steelers fans going to be next week after coming off of a win? It's so up and down. It's so up and down by what they do the previous week. It's crazy. Gavin Anthony says 37-27 Steelers. Although, no, we've still got people picking the Steelers to win. I love Marky D. Steelers Nation, I'll show you. Steelers 9-0. Shutting out those. He hates the Bungles. He despises the Bungles more than anything. Marky D, I hope they win this one for you, buddy. Okay. Mean Green has 27-14 our Pittsburgh Steelers. So got to get through a full day of Thanksgiving football, see how things are going. It's going to be interesting. You know, it's been so long since the Steelers played. I'm ready for an injury report. I'm ready to feel like that this team is back on track on a regular week with things going on. We got Sherry Richards jumping in here at the last second. She's got 24-20 Steelers. And Rich, you're right. I'm still leery about it. I don't know what to expect, but I've kind of been that way with a number of times with the Steelers this year. So make sure you're checking out all our podcasts. The only change to our lineup is that the Steelers preview already went live, but the podcast itself will be put out on the podcast channel on Thursday. At least that's the plan now. Other than that, you're going to get your regular shows. You're going to have Let's Ride tomorrow. That's Wednesday morning. You're going to have Steel City Insider Wednesday midday. You're still going to get myself and Greg Benevent Thursday morning for Pittsburgh Standard Time. All those things. Make sure you're tuning in. I'll have my last minute thoughts on for Sunday morning ahead of the game. Post game show coming up Sunday. All that good stuff as we move into December. Rich, what do you have to say to close us out tonight? Oh, wait. Make sure you check it out, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Go ahead.
Your weight threw off my mojo. Now I had something I was going to say and I forgot it.
It's been a long day, hasn't it?
It's been a long week and it's only Tuesday.
Yes.
Hey, you know, I will say this. I'm like you, Dave. I got like 800,000 things that are going to happen between now and Sunday.
Yes.
But I am looking forward to Sunday. I want nothing more than to, you know, see Crying Bengals lady, fire up the Escaloozers,
Yep.
you know, all the things. You know, there are a few things that I consider wonderful about Cincinnati, but you know, those are a couple. So let's hopefully just celebrate those wonderful things about Cincinnati. Because it sure would do a lot to wash off the stench from, you know, that the Steelers picked up in Cleveland the week before. Or as Kyle says, when we drive into the state of Ohio, he smells like Jag. So let's just hope that the Steelers come through and do that. You know what I haven't looked at yet? I'm surprised because usually I do. What's the weather forecast in Cincinnati?
It's funny. Jeff and Brian asked me the same thing at the end of the preview. Not rain, not snow, but cold.
But cold.
A high of like 27, 28. That was 2 days ago, but yeah.
Perfect. Cold, no precip. I can get behind that. So, come Sunday, 1:00, when God intended football to be played, I'll be sitting on my couch waiting to see which Steelers team are we going to see. Because every time I think I've got a grasp on what the Steelers are, they prove to me that that's not necessarily what they are. So I'm just kind of interested to see what I'm going to get this week. And just hope that what we see is the Crying Bengals lady and the Escaloozers and all the things that are good in Cincinnati. Can't wait.
Feel